Hi, welcome. Today I want to talk about something that happened to me a long time ago. When I was 15 years of age, I was working in a clothing store, and my manager came to me and she said in passing, or I don't remember what the scenario was, but these words impacted me. She said, "Jude, you will never be satisfied in life." And so fast forward many years, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, that kept coming back to me all the time, and it was sad to me. The way that I took it in when she told me, and the way that I looked at it over all the years, I was very sad about it because I thought, wow, maybe she's right. Maybe I will never be satisfied. And then that means that if I'm never satisfied, then I'm never going to be happy. Now, she didn't say that, but that's what I took, and that's what I carried with me. Not all the time, but when those words would come back, that's what I carried with me. You will never be satisfied, therefore you will never be happy. Mwah. Sad. Okay. So about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was having a session with a intuitive, and about an hour into the session, he looked at me and point blank, he said, "Jude, do you want to have an ordinary life, or would you rather have an extraordinary life? Because it's up to you." And it was like, wow. Well, no question what my answer was. Of course I wanted to have an extraordinary life, and I want to have an extraordinary life. So then all of a sudden what happened is that what I had been told and what I had been holding on to all those years about, Jude, you will never be satisfied, therefore you will never be happy. And then, do you want to have an extraordinary life? I looked at these, I looked at my interpretation of them. Okay, in the latter, I want to have an extraordinary life is, wow, that's fantastic. And it felt really right inside for me. And then that other part, which was really not true, when she said, you will never be satisfied, therefore you will not be happy, I added that on. Those were my thoughts. That was my belief at the time and over the years. Therefore, I will never be happy. That's not what was said. So what I'm bringing to you today is the fact that when you hear something, when somebody makes a declarative statement about you, or somebody says something, you know how it's weird? Somebody will say something, you'll overhear it, and then you make it yours. And then at that moment, you form your thoughts and beliefs and interpretation of that. Where does that come from? We have very busy minds. But you hear something and it stays with you, like that one did, you'll never be satisfied over the years. If I had known that all I had to do was think about that and sit with it, I would know that that statement was not to be taken as I took it in, to be not happy. And now I look at it as, Judy will never be satisfied unless. And the unless to me is the fact that unless I choose to be happy and have an extraordinary life, that feels so much better to me. So I'm going to leave this with you. This, I think, is astounding. A little scientific stuff that was done at the University of Pittsburgh years ago. That we humans have 50, 60, 70 thoughts a day, probably even more now with technology the way it is. It's my cat. 50, 60, 70 thoughts a day. And every 11 seconds now, every 11 seconds we do self-talk. Think about that. So if you wake up in the morning and you are feeling raggedy about yourself and you start telling yourself, I'm in a really bad mood and I don't like my life and I don't feel good and my hair doesn't look good and I feel all crappy and whatever it is, okay, and you are sucked into that, you may be doing 70,000 thoughts every 11 seconds of feeling kind of not so happy. Think about that. Think about your responsibility to your happiness every day you get out of bed. When you get up in the morning and you're not feeling so happy about your life, go ahead, tell that mind of yours, because you're the only one that can do it, I am a happy person. Give yourself a positive affirmation about I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm grateful, I've got eyes and ears and nose and mouth and hands and feet, and I can get out of the house and I can do these things and I can see and I can hear. I'm so grateful for this. Tell yourself that. Trick your mind. Tell your mind it's going to be happy. It will be happy. And you can make a difference in your day. Okay? And like, to go back to what I started talking about, don't believe everything you hear. Make sure if something sits with you that you think about that before you make it yours. And when you think about that, know that you can shift it in a way that's positive for you and that will be uplifting and can spur you on in a positive way. Words of wisdom for the day. How cool is that? Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.